Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create a piece of... Let's start again. Hi guys, Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create faux sunstone using translucent polymer clay. Now, what I've got here is unconditioned Primo polymer clay, and it is the translucent kind. You can use any brand of translucent you want. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that and I'm going to chop that up. And it's not been conditioned at all, so it's quite firm. And that way we'll end up with pieces that are nice and sharp and angular. If you would prefer it to be conditioned, you can go ahead and do that. Just know that your clay will probably end up being a little bit stickier and a little bit softer when you do this process. But you want to go through and you want to chop all these pieces up to about, I'd say roughly ranging from 2 millimeters thick to 6 millimeters thick. Alright, and once you have done that, then you're going to have to choose a couple alcohol inks. And these are the inks that I have chosen today. And they come in a variety of browns and reds and oranges. Feel free to select whatever colors you want for your piece. Remember that today's techniques can be done with a range of different colors. It doesn't have to be sunstone. It can be just really nice looking pieces. So if you would prefer to work with a different color palette, then by all means feel free to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to separate this out roughly into 4 piles of clay, because I need to color each of them separately. And then you're just going to take that ink, and I will start with the lightest one, which is this orange, and I'm just going to pop a couple drops down. Remember to close up that pot, and then just use a tool to move your clay around so that the pieces color. You can use a brush. I'm just using a ball tool to roughly color them, and then you would repeat this step with all of the other colors that you have chosen. You can work with as many colors as you want, or you could work with just the one color as well. Then you're going to leave those to dry, which shouldn't take too long. I generally will leave them for about 5 minutes. That is pretty much all the ink needs to dry. Sometimes it will dry a little faster. But yes, I will colour all of these stacks of clay. Let them dry, and then we can add some metal leaf. Alright, and here is how they look once I've let them dry. Now, the next step is going to be to bring over some metal leaf. And I'm going to first bring over some silver. And you can use any old metal leaf for this. You could even experiment around and maybe use red and orange metal leaf if you want to. And I'm going to be applying the silver to the orange over there. And then I am going to grab some gold metal leaf just to mix things up. Just grab that, drop that down. And I'm also going to grab one more because I want this to have lots of sparkle. Because if you ever look at sunstone pictures online, it really is, it has a lot of shine to it. Alright, and then for each of those I will just mix that metal leaf in roughly. The leaf should stick a little bit to the clay. If it doesn't, that's alright. Just mix it up so that the leaf breaks up, and then you can kind of squish things together and get it to stick afterwards. Alright, there we go. Okay, then for the next step you're going to want to use some pearl white acrylic paint, and this is the one that I am going to be using. Any pearl white paint will work. You could even use white if you want to, though I prefer to use the pearl white because it's going to give, again, a little bit more of a shine to the piece. And you just want to add a little bit to each piece, then just use a tool or a brush, anything along those lines, to kind of mix that around. And at this point, honestly, I think I'm going to start mixing all of these pieces together. We can do that now. Just mix that together and disperse the paint out. I'm not too worried about the paint covering everything because the veining that I want is going to be created mainly through the alcohol ink that we've placed on. The pearl white is just to add a little bit of difference. And you can see that there's a lot of metal leaf that's stuck to the tile. Something that you can do to prevent that is you can use your blade to go in and scrape that up and then just mix that back into your piece. That way you end up with a lot less wasted leaf. Then once you've kind of dispersed things out to the amount that you like, leave this for about another 15 minutes just to allow that paint to dry completely. And I would recommend just kind of moving things around so that it's got enough space to breathe. That will make the acrylic paint dry quicker. And this paint will also help the metal leaf stick to the clay. Okay, and I've given it a little bit of time to dry. There might still be some damp spots when I go to press this together, but in general it should be dry enough to form together into a block of clay. You could use gloves to do this if you want. I'm not going to because I'm not too fussed about it. And what I'm going to do is I'm first going to mix that up and just make sure that everything has been well distributed, and there is still paint. That's okay. I'm just going to take that, I'm going to squish that together. What you could do is you could pop it into a bag and squish it together in the bag as well if you wanted to. And I'm just going to take that and I'm just going to collect all of these pieces. And then I'm going to clean up the tile, and then I will go to actually press it together because you're going to need to really work that to get everything stuck. Alright, there we go, and that's much better. So now I'm just going to grab all these little pieces, and I would also recommend having a little roller ready to go, because what you can do is you can use that to really press things down. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to just really take some time to both press everything together but also to warm that clay up, because since it was not conditioned at all, it's a lot firmer, and so by doing this with my hands I can get things warmed up. That makes things a little more sticky and we'll get things kind of bonding together. And then once you've got it somewhat stuck together so it's at least holding itself in form, use your roller to kind of tap the surface like so. And this is a tip that I use for when I condition hard clay. If you sit there and smack it and then rotate and continue doing that, it actually warms the clay up and helps move it all around and stick the pieces together. So I'm not doing it properly here because it will make a racket. So you really want to be smacking it to get everything together. Alright, and there we go. That's what it should look like after you've really got it all compressed together. And you can see that some areas are still loose, so it's not completely stuck together. But I did just compress it together, and then you can use your roller to form it into a little bit more of a square or rectangular shape. If things aren't sticking together completely, that's perfectly fine, because the next step is going to really involve that. So just get it together to the point where you can take your slices. And there you can see how that looks. I'm quite happy with that. That looks very much like stone veining. And each piece is going to look different from the next because of the way the pieces were all mixed together. So you can see there the veining on that one looks different. And I'm just going to take pieces that are about, I'd say about 3mm thick, give or take. And I'm just going to cut as many pieces as I can. If some are a little thicker and some are a little thinner, that's fine as well, because we're going to be kind of flattening this out and just pressing it all back together again, because you can see that it's not all stuck together, but that's enough to get things moving. Okay, now you're just going to take those pieces, and it's very nice and simple. I don't really want mirrors though, so I'm going to make sure that I don't mirror them. And I'm just going to place them together so that I can form a slab. And I'm going to slightly overlap just to help things stick together a little. Just take those, place them down. Again, don't worry if things aren't sticking together, that's going to be fixed right on the next step. And if you're really worried about things not sticking together, in the step after you've applied the acrylic paint, you can also add a little bit of translucent liquid clay, and that can help that out as well. Right, then I'm just going to take this and I'm going to roll it out. And I'm going to be careful because I'm not sure if the clay is going to stick to my roller. Sometimes it does. If you find that it does stick, you can always take a baby wipe and apply a little bit of moisture to your roller, and that will help prevent the clay from sticking. I'm not going to place a piece of paper down because I know the clay will stick to the paper. If there's smudges in the pattern, that's fine. Sanding will take care of that later on. It's not a problem. Right now I just want to stretch it out. And this will both increase the translucency and it will bond everything together, and it will get rid of any gaps in the piece as well. Alright. And then I'm just going to bring over my firm tissue blade, pick that up, and you can see there how that looks. Okay, and you could use it like it is right now, but I actually want to do something that some of you might disagree with, and that's fine. If you want to, you can skip that, but I'm actually going to fold it over like so, and then press all those edges back together again. I'm going to do the same on the back. If I have any areas that need to be overlapped, I will do that. And this is again part of kind of getting everything to bond together, but also I want this to come out more of a marble than what I usually do, so that is why I'm doing that. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to roll that again, and this time I'm going to roll it to about 1.5 millimeters thick for my earrings. And you're going to find the pattern stretches and distorts quite a bit from doing that. So if you don't want that, you can skip that step and stop at the previous one. Alright, and that is how it looks once I've rolled it out to the point where I am happy. And you can see how that has ended up looking. Bear in mind that there is still going to be a fair amount of sanding that will take place once this has finished baking, so don't worry about the pattern not looking quite as clear as it could right now. That will get cleaned up. Alright, then I'm just going to gently press that down onto my tile, and I've selected a couple cutters. I have these little barley cutters and a oval donut cutter. If you're interested in these cutters, I do sell them on my Etsy store, Jessima Design. If you are interested in any polymer clay tools, I have a number of them over there, and that would be greatly appreciated, as that always does help the channel continue running and is a great way to support it. But I'm just going to take those and I'm going to press those down, and this is about 1.5 millimeters thick, give or take. You can always run it through the pasta machine if you would like it to be completely accurate. Okay, and if you are liking this video so far, consider leaving a like and subscribing, as that does help the channel out and gets this video out to more polymer clay artists like you. And there you can see those come out quite nicely. And these are the earrings that I'm going to be making today. I'm not going to cut out more. I will save the rest of this video for a project for myself later. This will be more than enough for today. However, if you like to make a lot of earrings, then you could cut out as many as you want from this. Alright, and let me just move that to the side so that it doesn't get jogged by anything, and you might need to just clear up a few pieces if they didn't pull up neatly. Then those are going to get moved to a piece of paper so that I can bake them for about half an hour at Primo's recommended temperature, and they'll bake on the paper so that the backs of the piece end up with a nice smooth finish, and I won't have to do too much sanding. And just gently tap around the edges, because if you've used paint, you're going to find that there is a little bit of scragginess around the edges of your piece. It's not necessarily because your tools weren't sharp, it was just simply because paint doesn't cut very well. Even if you are using a blade, I find paint doesn't cut very well, so you'll need to just gently tap around the edges to get that smoothed up. And the same would go for these little pieces here. You're just going to pick that up. You could bake the little oval pieces as a separate earring if you want to. I'm not going to, I'm going to leave those out, and that clay can be used in another project. Also, these are going to have resin on them, but if you wanted to dome them, you could also do that. Place them on a little doming tool such as a glass or vase that is heat safe, and that way you can give your piece a little bit of shape if you're not planning on placing resin. If you're using resin, then pieces are best baked completely flat. But yeah, there we go. Let me bring those over so you can see them a little closer. I really do like how those have come out. The colours are going to look good when they are baked. Bear in mind that they will darken once they've baked because the translucent will clear up, so be prepared for that colour change. But yeah, these are now going to go into the oven for half an hour, and when they're done, give them a little bit of a sand and finish them up. Alright, and here is how this looks once it's out of the oven. And you can see there has been a bit of a colour shift, but there's not actually as much of a difference as I thought there would be. Here's the previous piece. It actually maintained colour quite well, which is always nice. Don't rely on that though, because oftentimes it doesn't come out looking exactly the same. What I'm going to do now is this needs to be sanded. It needs to have a sand around the edges and then along the front and the back as well to clear up the extra leaf and paint that are on the edges. And this is a 800 grit wet dry sandpaper. I will usually sand in a bowl of water just to catch the dust that comes off of this. You don't want to dry sand it, not unless you have a mask, and even then I would say always wet sand. But all you're going to do is you're just going to run your piece along the sandpaper, and you can see there it catches the sediment. And hopefully you can see there the difference. This side has a little bit of scratchy bits and this side is nice and smooth. You're going to do the same thing for the front part. Just going to go in and you're going to give it a good old sand, and that should just clear that image up. Then once you've done that for the front, back and sides, I would actually recommend either leaving it in the sun or overnight, or you can pop it into the oven. If the oven's already warm, you can even have the oven on and pop it in there for about 5 minutes just to remove any moisture that might have been introduced from the sandpaper, because we're going to be applying resin to this, and moisture and resin do not mix. It will create bubbles in the resin, so just make sure that your piece is completely dry before you apply any resin. Okay, and now I am going to apply some UV resin. You can varnish these if you want with something like Varathane. You could also sand and buff them, so don't feel like you have to apply the resin. But I am going to apply the resin today, so let me just open this up. And you're only going to apply a small amount of resin. You really don't need a huge amount. And this is just going to really bring those colours out and give a lovely glossy finish. Alright, and that's generally about enough. Generally I will use about enough resin to cover half the surface. And then I will use a tool to spread it out to the rest of the piece. And that works pretty well for me. Any more resin than that and I find that I have spills, not all the time, but more often than I would like, so that is how I tend to prevent it. Right, and then once you've done all of them, you would place those into a UV light for about 15 minutes. That's what works for me. You could pop them in direct sunlight as well, and that will work too, but they might need to be there a little longer. Yeah, pop it in for 15 minutes, it will cure the UV resin, and then we can move on to the next step. I am not sure if I'm going to be adding UV resin to both sides. I'm still debating that. The reason I tend to not do that, just quickly while I'm here, is because when you go to drill it, a lot of times the resin that you're drilling, the opposite side of the side that you are drilling will have the resin pop off. So I tend to resin one side and then varnish the other side. So that is just something to bear in mind. Alright, and here is how it looks once it's got that UV resin on it. Now I have already assembled the other 3 pieces, so I will show you those in a bit. But for now, this one I am going to just give it a drill. And you're going to use a handheld pin drill for that. And I'm just starting with a nice thin drill bit. I'm just going to pop it on top over here. And it can be a little tricky at first because the resin does not drill as easily as, say, the polymer clay. So you need to make sure that you have at least, just be careful when you're first drilling because you need to have a hole there to kind of get your drill bit to stay in place. And until you have that, your drill bit can slide around. So just be careful in the beginning. Then once you've done that, it should drill pretty quickly. You can see there already that we've gotten through the resin and are now through the clay, and that should break through any moment. Alright, and I did want to quickly point out as well that I did decide to only resin one side. The other side I gave a coat of Varathane gloss varnish to give it a little bit of a sheen, but I decided against 2 layers of resin. Alright, and before I move on to the next step, I do just want to quickly allow my cat to come on camera for a second because you may hear her snoring in the background. And here you go, you can see she's just kind of hanging out on my chair. I'm currently standing right now. She has stolen my chair, so that is Kit Kat, the studio cat. If you hear any kind of snoring in the background, that is from her. But yes, just thought I would give her a little moment on camera. But yeah, now moving back over to our piece. Okay, and now that this has been drilled, the next few steps are really simple. I've got 2 jump rings, one small, one large, and a ear wire. And I'm just going to take the larger of those 2 jump rings. I'm using gold because of the foil that I used in today's piece along with the colours. But you can use any colour metal you wish. And just pop that jump ring through like so. Then I will attach that little one, close it up, and then grab that ear wire, open up that, and just loop that jump ring on and close it up. And there we go, that's how I've planned to assemble all of the earring pieces. Nice, easy and simple, while also being fairly effective. And there we go. Yeah, that is pretty much it for the tutorial. Here you can see how those donut pieces turned out. Hopefully the camera is picking up the wonderful flash on those pieces. They really did turn out quite nice. And there is a lot of colour variation as well. You can see on the back there also it's got that. I'm not sure if it can show on camera, I don't think so, but they are semi-translucent. But yeah, this is quite a fun technique. The results always turn out really quite nice and are unpredictable, but again, they always turn out into something that I really do like. If you have any questions, please do leave them in the comments below. I will answer them as soon as possible. And if you have suggestions for future tutorials, please do consider leaving them down below. And they may end up becoming a video on the channel. Also, if you'd like to support the channel so I can continue creating videos just like this one, please do consider becoming a patron or a member of the channel. There is a link to my Patreon account in the description below, while there is also a join button just below this video to become a member of the channel. Both are exactly the same and are a great way to support the channel while also gaining access to videos that are not available for free on YouTube. Another way to support the channel is to check out my Etsy store, where I sell things such as the cutters that I used in today's video, along with a couple of the foils as well. But yeah, that is just about it. I do hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.